Welcome to the SWAT. Hey, get this. Hey, what's up? Happy Saturday. It's officially the weekend. Hope your Friday night went better than mine. 0-2 in the NBA. Philadelphia, terrible bet. Sixers -6 was a terrible bet. And then Lakers +9. Oh my God. The last minute of that game was tough to watch. I mean, we deserved that one. That was a tough
What
loss.
happened?
So it was a 5-point game. Lakers have the ball. D'Angelo Russell gets a wide open look for 3. It would have been a 2-point game. I'm getting 9 with a minute and a half. Would have won. Like, game over. He misses. Lakers get the offensive rebound. They kick it back to him for the same exact shot. Misses again. So, like, what out? It's still a 5-point game. Like, I'm good. I'm getting 9. The T-Wolves come down the floor, get fouled, hit the first free throw, miss the second one, get offensive rebound, get fouled again. Then make both. So now it's at 8. The Lakers come down, miss a layup, get the offensive rebound, turn the ball over. Then the T-Wolves go down and hit a 3. So it went from 5 points to 11 points where, like, it could have been like a tie game. It was just crazy how it went nuts. Oh, shit. Wags commenting from Twitter, Wags.
Interesting.
So we got 6. Yeah, Wags said, I believe, and I quote in the Discord, I'm gonna murder college basketball tomorrow. I think Wags had a rough Friday night too. I did. Toast went like 4-0, so Toast had a good one.
I didn't want to say anything. I was just gonna let it play out.
Today, clearly.
Texas A&M Purdue up first. This game, true home game.
Yep, in Mackey.
Technically, yeah.
So how do you not bet Purdue at this short number?
This isn't at Mackey.
It's not.
It's at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. It's in Indiana. It's where the Pacers play. It's a semi-away game. It's how
I fucked this candy cap up then.
No,
I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
Well, there's gonna be more Purdue fans than A&M fans.
I'm just saying that.
I still think Purdue is gonna win this game comfortably. I always say this: the team with the advantage here, and I know it's technically a neutral site, but they're gonna have the advantage in terms of pace. They're gonna be able to make this game a crawl, make this game boring, make this game what they want, be able to hit shots. A&M hasn't really faced teams. They face teams that can hit shots. Those teams are usually the ones that actually give them games. UCF is a perfect example of that. They're a team that's oddly been able to hit shots this year, and they were the ones that have beaten A&M, one of the teams. So, this is definitely a spot where I like Purdue. The number clearly says it because it opened at 1.5. It's already 2.5. It'll probably hit 3 by tomorrow. So, yeah, I like Purdue a lot in this spot. Also, they're still – this isn't their first game coming off of that, but they know that loss to Penn State is still in their head. I mean, they got ran off the floor by a Penn State team that's probably weaker than A&M. So, yeah, they definitely will want to rebound from that. They
did get run right off the floor in that game against Penn State. Someone in the comments said, Toasty, Colorado Buffs, did your bum ass even check the game like I asked? You ghosted me.
Nope, I didn't. So, I would have. Somebody had to have been talking about it because at least it would in the Discord because somebody I knew I swear was on Colorado -9. I could have sworn
it happened in that game that they're saying that.
I don't know. They covered. I know that because I just hit my money line parlay. The money just went right in my account just now. So all is good. I'm on Purdue as well. I feel the exact same way with Andy. I do want to say that I think that Texas A&M is a good basketball team, and I will point out that I thought this game was at Mackey, -10 for me. But regardless, you have a Texas A&M team that had looked like the record was really good. They lost that first game, like Andy touched on, against UCF. And then their only other loss was to an Oregon team that's been playing out of their mind. Obviously, they lost on a last-second three-pointer at home against UCLA, but Oregon's looked really, really good. I think Oregon was one of those teams when we saw those teams play in the tournaments that probably looked the best out of all those teams. Them and Alabama helped. But anyway, but if you look at Texas A&M and what they've done against teams that I think that I would consider that have a pulse or that's going to actually give them a game, I don't worry about East Texas A&M or Lamar or Wake Forest for that matter, or Southern. But when you play, and Ohio State was a really good win for them. I think that's their good win. But if you guys remember that Creighton game, they could have easily have lost that game. They ended up going on a run late in that game to seal it, but they could have easily lost that game. The Rutgers game the same type of way. Both those games were on neutral, so they weren't very similar environment, but very similar to the Rutgers game. They looked really good to start. Their offense bogged down in the second half. They really didn't play well. That game went back and forth. Rutgers ended up pissing down their leg. They lost by 4, but and then they beat up on a really good or a really bad, I don't think a very good Wake Forest team. So I don't really put too much stock into that. So it's, for me, it's just really hard when you're taking a Texas A&M team that's played one true away game this far. And again, I know it's not at Mackey, but it's pretty damn close. The only thing that I will give you about Purdue is that they're going to have to figure out how to defend the three and how to do it with the fact that they're making a lot of threes, because Purdue's 8-2 right now. They're shooting 41% from deep while opponents are shooting 31%. And if you go back and you look at the teams that they've struggled they've struggled in, or that could have gone either way, like Yale, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Maryland, they were shooting in all 4 of those games. They shot 4 or 5 games, whatever. They shot 45%. Their opponents shot less than 35%. So it really, again, the luck factor as far as shots might not be in Purdue's way, but at the same time, Texas A&M is not a team that I trust to make shots. Wade Taylor is the only person on that team that is remotely offensively capable, and he's not a three-point shooter. So
seems like this line's a little sketchy. Purdue in basically a home game. This seems way too short. I'm good on this.
Texas A&M is very good. I mean, and Purdue hasn't looked fantastic. So
I'm never not a believer in Mike Elko, especially on the road.
Dare I say, people are afraid of SEC teams on neutral sites. I think it's a thing.
Jesus.
Here's another one.
Andy's just like make shit up. It's just on neutral court.
Well, look, we're doing how many games, and all of them include an SEC team except one. It's because all the big.
I can assure you, no one gives a shit.
Because you do the show.
No one
you do the lineup.
You pick the games.
Like, what do you mean?
No, I'm not doing it. I didn't know. I didn't realize.
He just flexed the games we did on our show that he picked.
I took the best games, any game that was ranked versus ranked or big names. Now, I didn't realize the lines were going to be as significant in some of them, but
someone said I can't get into college basketball yet. Gotta wait for conference play. That's G said that. Yeah, that's me too. I'm just hosting. These guys are in January.
Some of these games are conference games.
Yeah, well, they're all SEC. That's for sure.
Embrace it.
This is Ohio State live.
This line has ballooned. I think it opened at 8, maybe 8.5. Obviously now at 11.5. Andy, what are your thoughts on this?
We like Auburn a lot better at home in the jungle.
Yeah,
100%.
You're right.
Is Ohio State trash?
I don't think they're trash. I think that they're on the year. They're like plus 15% on 3-point percentage, meaning very similar to Purdue. They're making a whole bunch of shots while the other teams that they're playing aren't making a whole bunch of shots. So sooner or later, that's going to come to fruition and it's going to even out a little bit. It's just, I guess it's the question of, do you trust them to make shots over this Auburn team that has, been tested over and over and over again? I don't know if I want to lay 11 points with Auburn's second true road game, but at the same time, or it's not even a true road game, it's on a neutral. So
it's in Atlanta, State Farm. Yep.
Yeah. I'd still lean Ohio State here. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Andy? I don't know if I want to lay 11.5.
I wanted to get to Ohio State because I will say Auburn, Auburn's had two games where they faced really good 3-point shooting teams. They faced Houston, who's number 2 in the country in 3-point percentage, and they beat them. And then they played Memphis, who's number 3. They beat them pretty comfortably.
Island Rims.
The difference between Ohio State and those two teams is Ohio State can also get work done inside. Those teams can't. Those teams are heavily reliant on 3-pointers, especially Memphis. Memphis is heavily reliant on 3-pointers. Obviously, Houston is too. But Ohio State's not. But Ohio State, they can't keep making 3-pointers at the rate that they're making them, and this is by far the toughest team they face. Auburn is probably the best team in the country. The only reason they're not number 1 right now is because of Duke, losing to Duke. So that's got to mean something, and the fact that this team, Bruce Pearl's defenses are always really tough. man. I can't get there with them. So I wanted to also go. I would probably lean under, but I haven't bet this yet. Probably lean under in the game because I don't think Ohio State will be able to shoot like that on a neutral. So lean under, but I also think Auburn's probably going to wax on this if I have to come down to it.
Just to add on to Andy's point, it's essentially if Ohio State sees a team with that can't defend the three, that's their problem. I mean, Rutgers can't defend the three. They obviously won that game going away. What happened with Maryland and Pittsburgh, both those teams inside the top 60 in three-point percentage as far as defense is concerned, they lost both those games. Texas A&M, obviously a very good team defensively. They lost that game. So, again, it's just the only team that they beat that has a pulse as far as three-point percentage on defense, which is Youngstown State. And congratulations, Ohio State. Good job.
Congrats on that.
And the Penguins.
I'm just saying. Come on.
Let's move on to the next game. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't like that one. Dylan in the comments says he said Auburn by 15.
Yeah, that does feel.
It doesn't shock me. Yeah, that's.
Georgia's also a place where when they go to that state, a lot of their guys are from there. So those are homecomings for a lot of those guys.
Louisville, Kentucky. Is this a true road game or a neutral?
This is at Rupp.
This is at Rupp, yeah.
Home game. And it's probably going to be an ugly one.
You think?
Really?
Yeah. A respectful. I love me some Pat Kelsey.
I know. That's why I'm shocked because me, I love the Avengers. But at the same time, there's things that have me worried about this team a little bit. Go ahead.
I will say, do I worry about the fact that Kentucky, they did struggle a little bit against Colgate last game, but that was, anybody who was tweeting about that thinking they were going to lose that game, that was clearly a hangover from beating Gonzaga. But also without Kirk Risa, they could have been adjusting to that. But man, I'm not buying this Louisville stuff. It's been very clear, other than the Duke game in which they still wound up losing, and they probably shouldn't have lost it. We've seen this team get opportunity. Well, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Duke, Tennessee. We've seen them get wiped off the floor in a couple of these games. And the one game that they have, the one game that everybody was giving them so much credit for, was the Indiana game where they shot the lights out and they made a bunch of threes in the first half. Well, Indiana stinks. And then their other wins, West Virginia, and that was in overtime, and we really don't know what that is. That was a neutral site game. We really don't know who West Virginia is either, so I'm not buying it with this team. UTEP played them really close the other day. Maybe that was a look ahead for them because I know this is a much bigger game, but man, this is a really good Kentucky team. They just had their flat spot, so I think they're going to come out and just pummel them. I don't think that Louisville's going to be able to make shots, so I think it's going to be very ugly.
Dylan from Twitter says he likes Louisville. Wags from Twitter says, at this number, it's a pass, no edge, in my opinion. I kind of like what Andy says. I was kind of leaning that way.
First and foremost, I just want to say I do love me the Avengers. That's why I've named them that. So I don't. But at the same time, when we are talking about this Kentucky team, it has to be said, we're getting to the point where, and I read this really good article about teams that are really, really good at something and that's really bad at something, and all these things are going to have to come together. Kentucky, another one of those teams where they looked really good and their offense looks good, and Kirk Reese said that flat spot. I agree with everything that Andy said, but the fact of the matter is Kentucky is facing teams that our opponents are shooting 26.3% from deep on the entire season for Kentucky. That number is going to only go up, and Louisville is the exact opposite. Louisville's shooting 27% from three, which is almost 10% below expected than all these guys on their roster should be shooting. So again, do I think that Kentucky wins this game easily? I do. I think that this Louisville team, especially losing their best player with Pryor, I just think it's going to be really hard for them to figure things out. And I think against a Kentucky team that at home, that, like Andy said, has already had their flat spot, again, it's just really hard for me to look either other way to Kentucky. I really want to get to Louisville. I really do. But at the same time, any time that they've stepped up in competition, it's been really bad for them. Not to mention the fact they haven't played a road game this year. This is one of the teams that have played all home games or neutrals. They looked somewhat decent against an Indiana team that we just saw tonight is bad. They looked good against a West Virginia team that they beat in overtime. And then they lost to Oklahoma, Mississippi, and Duke. So, and the UTEP game that Louisville just played, they were very lucky to win that game. So as much as you can say that Kentucky didn't look good against Colgate and they didn't look good against Gonzaga for the first half, and then they finally came back, I think I agree with Andy. I think this would be a spot that Kentucky goes. But again, laying 12 or 11.5 or whatever it is now, I don't know.
Yeah, our graphic says 10.5, but let me see.
It's 11 now, 11 and a half on 10. It just depends. It's going to go around all night.
I don't think I'm going to bet this one.
I wouldn't.
Let's move on to the next one.
If I was going to say, if you guys want to bet, if you're trying to bet Kentucky, I would look at their team total. That's what I would worry about, because they're going to, I mean, Louisville isn't a slow team either. So, I mean, if you think that Kentucky can score and expose this Louisville team, I mean, Kentucky's pace should get them up and over.
Here's a game that could be interesting. Tennessee, is this a true road game, or is this a Big Ten SEC invitational bullshit tournament?
It's not a tournament. It's in the State Farm Center in Champaign, so it's not a true home game for Illinois. Or maybe it is.
Dylan from Twitter says he loves Illinois +2. That's where I was looking too. Is this a sharp spot to play Illinois?
Everybody does. This number was 3.5 when I looked before, and it's
outright, Andy. Outright. Fuck the SEC.
I disagree. I have Tennessee money on it.
So, well, okay. Well, we don't. Guys, if you're new to the show, just keep in mind Andy always bets the SEC team regardless of who they're playing. So
also it'll be this guy hates the SEC. It's gonna happen. Don't worry, it's coming. This guy will never.
Line opened at 3.5. By the way, guys, it's been bet down. So go ahead, Andy.
I don't care. They're winning outright.
I'll say why I disagree.
I agree with you, Andy. By the way,
Illinois' defense is probably the first really good defense Tennessee has seen. That's definitely part of it. But I mean, they're Tennessee. They're the number one team in the country. We know they're gonna be able to score. I don't have a problem with that. They're also they have a significant experience advantage. I mean, they're basically all seniors on that Tennessee team, juniors or seniors, while Illinois is coming in with young guys. The big thing for me is Illinois relies on shooting threes. They're not great at it, but they shoot a lot of them. You're not getting a lot of open threes against a Barnes coach team. I don't see that happening. They're just they pressure you so well at the 3-point line that you have to try to go inside, and those young guys are going to have to do a lot of work. I don't see it from them. I think that the experience plays a significant role. Maybe the fact that Tennessee kind of hasn't seen much this year, right? I think the best team, they've seen Miami and Syracuse. Those teams both suck. Baylor was coming off a double overtime win. Virginia's terrible. Louisville's terrible. So, yeah, they haven't seen a lot, but I just think that the experience and talent will take them here. But everybody seems to like Illinois a lot. A lot of people I see on Twitter like Illinois too, so I get it. But I'm on Tennessee.
So Jay in the comments says, huge Illinois fan here. I'm taking Tennessee. Illinois was 1-6 last year versus top 15 teams. So I win either way because he's a fan.
What was that? Say that again.
So he says Illinois was 1-6 last year against top 15 teams. So he's saying he wins either way because his team is Illinois. So if he loses his bet, his favorite team wins.
I like that strategy.
Yeah, whoever that comment was took the words out of my mouth. I'm gonna fade Brad Underwood when he faces top tier competition as much as possible. So that stat proves it. I also think that the fact that I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. The Tennessee defense, I think, is going to matter a lot when you face a team like an Illinois team that doesn't have a true number one guy. Yes, Jack Anunis, or however the hell you pronounce his last name, is their go-to guy, but they also have the Islavich guy, the Riley guy, Waite, or Wright, or whatever his name is, and Johnson. Sorry, I don't have them all memorized. But regardless, they have a whole bunch of guys that do a whole bunch of things for them. I guess that's my point. And I feel like Tennessee is one of these teams that can shut them down. So Tennessee is one of the best defenses in the country, if not the best defense in the country. And regardless of what Andy wants to spew to you, they have a very, very good point guard in Zakai Ziegler that knows what he's doing, who's a senior. I don't want to hear it, Andy. You put respect on that man's name until there's otherwise proven. So, I just think that Illinois is a little bit overvalued to me. I don't think they looked very impressive against Wisconsin. I think they could have lost that game easily. Obviously, this game is at home as well, so that helps. But I think that Northwestern presents the same sort of problems as Tennessee does, and Tennessee's way better than Northwestern. So I think Tennessee can win this game, especially on the road. So, and also, by the way, Tennessee has also played road games. They've played neutral and pro road games, including one of them at Louisville. So it's not like it's Tennessee's first road game or anything like that.
Yeah, but it's a Big Ten game.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to Zakai Ziegler for finally bringing his turnovers per game below 4. That's impressive.
Guys, just so you know, Andy always hates on SEC teams. That isn't true. We have a live dog here in Tuscaloosa?
Man, Wags is on them. I don't know.
Wags is on Creighton?
Yeah.
Oh, let's do it. I'm with you, Wags. I don't know if you're still watching. I'm with it. I'm down to play Creighton with Wags. I mean, you guys don't understand Big East ball, though.
I don't understand Creighton basketball, if I'm being dead honest with you. This team is one of the hardest teams for me in the country to read. Yeah, this one's really hard. Andy, I don't know about you. It would not be Creighton for me. It'd be Alabama or a pass for me.
I want to go under because this number is so freaking high. Don't get me wrong. The teams, their numbers, the way they play, the pace, screams over. But it's 163.5. I'm not taking over in a college game at 163.5. We've seen Creighton be unable to hit shots in games this year. So, like, it's not like it's impossible for them to go cold. They're going into a tough place to play. So I would just maybe a Creighton team total game under. That would be the way I'd go. I wouldn't pick a side in this one because this number is crazy. I honestly thought this number was going to be more like 6 or 7. I think Creighton needs to get a little bit more love for what they've done recently. They've bounced themselves back a little bit here. So I give them credit on that, but yeah, I would take the under Creighton team total under.
So, are you saying you trust Creighton defensively?
No, I don't trust. I trust Alabama to the point where they might hold Creighton to the lowest this season.
So you lean towards Alabama?
Going on the road to Alabama is a very difficult proposition.
Not to mention this
Big
is
East
by
ball,
far
though. Big East ball.
This is Alabama is by far the best defense that they've seen.
Yes.
And it's not even close.
Does Creighton play defense?
Does Creighton play defense? I mean, they have Kalkbrenner, which is, he's one of the best defensive players in the sport. But
what about Alabama team total under? They're laying 11.5 with a 163 total. It's going to be huge. It's going to be what? 90?
72.
Yeah, but at the same time, Alabama is one of those teams that could score 90 on any given night, and they've scored 90 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
3 times.
North Carolina, Rutgers,
UNC
Asheville, and Illinois.
Oh shit! Yeah, I missed the Illinois because it's 100. I missed it. My bad.
Yeah, numbers are hard. I get it.
S thoughts on on Alabama.
Okay, let's Creighton it up then. Blue Jay up.
Let's switch my graphic over to Creighton, please. I didn't know S thought was on it.
I just don't trust Creighton offensively. Yeah. Alabama is just a very good team. And again, if Creighton defensively can slow them down, maybe it's a game. But it's just really hard for me to do that, especially because Creighton hasn't played on the road this year. All this stuff that Creighton's doing has been at home and on neutrals, and neutrals that they played 2 neutral games against San Diego State and Texas A&M, and they got fucking killed in the first one and they lost in the second one. So, I don't trust Creighton. I think that they're one of those teams that have gone off their name, and people respect them because of who they are, and they have Kalkbrenner. But if you can come into Alabama and keep this within 10, then maybe we can start looking your way. But until I see it, especially on the road, in a true away game at that, there's no way in hell I play Creighton.
If that game was a neutral, I'd be all on board. But that's a tough
Agreed.
Game.
This next one, I mean, this is an insulting line.
It's 1.5 now.
It honestly is a little bit insulting because of where the game's being played.
First of all, it's not
Stores or Hartford.
This is at MSG, dude. They don't
either.
That place is going to be packed with UConn fans.
Yeah, because Gonzaga's never played in a hostile environment. They never schedule teams like this. It's
Packed.
just
Dude,
so out of the realm for Gonzaga. It's just crazy.
I'm just saying, I was
So am
stunned when I saw the line opened.
This is a UConn spot, right?
Yes.
Yes.
No question. I
like
like
UConn.
I didn't bet it. No, I liked UConn at 4 or 3.5, much more than when it opened. Andy, go ahead. I mean, this is everybody knows what I'm going to say about Gonzaga. So
I just think UConn, not just because of where the game's being played, but I mean, they're going to get a lot of work done inside. If they want to score inside, I think they're going to be able to. I think that's an issue for Gonzaga. And I also don't think they're that great at defending the 3, even though the numbers tell you they are. I don't know that they are. I don't trust
Gonzaga sucks at defending the 3 ball.
Gonzaga could probably drop 90 on anybody. They're probably going to be able to score on anybody this season. They have a great offense. UConn's very bad at defending the three from their numbers, which is a problem. So if Gonzaga comes out and starts hot, I don't know that they're going to be able to do that on a neutral in front of a lot of UConn fans. I think that might be a little bit of an issue. So I'm on UConn. I think that the game's going to point in their direction. I think the environment will point in their direction, but Gonzaga's more talented. There's no question. There's no question that this UConn team is a little bit worse than they were last year, right? They're not the two-time national champion talent-wise. Gonzaga's really talented, but we've seen both of these teams have significant shortcomings. So I think it'll be a good game. But I would be on UConn. I'll be there as well. So.
S-Tots on the Zags. Dylan from Twitter's on the Zags.
I think it's a different question when it's now 1.5, and it will probably get to a pick 'em, I would assume, by tomorrow. I think it's a different question than having to lay 3.5 with Gonzaga. But I do think, as much as I am going to talk shit about Danny and the boys, I will say that what we saw in Maui, especially against Dayton, they might just packed it up, and they didn't. I mean, it is what it is. So I don't know if I don't, as much as I love to talk shit about them, I don't really think that UConn is nearly as bad as what we saw them in Maui. Mm-hmm. So we also just saw UConn go on the road in a true away game against a Texas team that is one of the worst coached teams in the country. There's no question about that, but they slaughtered that team. And I will give you that maybe the second half was a little bit dicey at times, but again, it's a Texas team at home that just got embarrassed. I mean, it's really hard to stay up for those games. But the only reason that I didn't bet UConn at the Open is because I don't know what to expect from Gonzaga. I really don't. What we saw against the Avengers, aka Kentucky, on last Saturday was an absolute disgrace to Gonzaga basketball. That just doesn't happen. We don't blow leads like that. I don't know what the stat was. It was like 176-0 when we were up by 15 or more. Obviously, we're not always playing teams like Kentucky when that happens, but at the same time, it's just not something that you really see often as a Gonzaga fan. Again, Gonzaga's been tested. That's the only thing that I trust with this Gonzaga team. Not only have they been tested this year, whether it be Baylor, Arizona State, San Diego State, West Virginia, Indiana, Kentucky. Davidson is also a good one. But they've been playing this game. My point to what I was talking about with Andy before is that they play these games over and over and over again, year after year after year. So all these players on this team are used to it. That being said, I don't trust the three-point shooting for the Zags to save my life. And I also don't trust the three-point defense for the Zags to save my life either. And I think that UConn, if there's one team in the country that can definitely shoot over the top of this Zags team, it's going to be UConn with guys like McNeely and Caravan for sure. So not that McNeely's going to be hoisting up a whole bunch of threes, but he's shooting close to 35%, I think, from deep. And obviously Caravan's an NBA talent that's shooting close to 50% from deep. So Gonzaga, if there's one thing that we know, Mark Few can't guard the three. And honestly, I think the Gonzaga's going to need the three ball to stay in this game. And I honestly, as a Gonzaga fan, don't trust it. I just don't. You're going to be asking guys like Braden Huff, Ryan Nembhard. I trust Ryan Nembhard, but he's shot 25 three balls all year. Like, he's not a guy that's going to run down. You're going to run an offense for him to shoot the three ball. Everybody on Gonzaga's team that can shoot the three ball, you don't really want the ball in their hand. Nolan Hickman, Dusty Stromer. Battle is a guy that I trust, but I mean, he's kind of erratic at times. If he gets on, it's on. But again, Ben Gregg is another kid that you would think that should be shooting a much better. He's 2 for 17 this year from deep. So I just feel like UConn has just too many advantages in this game. So my heart obviously tells me Gonzaga, but my eyes and all the numbers on paper tell me UConn, and it could be an ugly. I'm not gonna lie.
So
if Gonzaga's not making shots, it's going to be an ugly night because Caravan and them, I think, is going to be able to make shots for sure.
All right, let's do a community top bet here, and shout out to the dude having a meltdown about a losing gambling night. Dude, you should not be betting. You should not be betting if a losing night causes you to come on the internet and have a meltdown. Jesus Christ.
What do you think about Georgia tomorrow, Toast?
6.5, right?
Line surprised me. Thought it'd be a little bit higher. I don't want to take Georgia. I'm afraid to bet Georgia though.
I think that I don't really think that Grand Canyon is good, so that helps. I also like to play teams after they just play against teams after they just played D3 schools or whatever Life Pacific is or whatever the team they played. So I wish this game was in whatever whatever you call home, the Global Credit Union Arena or whatever bullshit you guys playing.
Where they play? Well, it's a neutral. It's the
no, that's not Georgia. That's Georgia. Who did Georgia play? Stegman? What is it called?
Stegman College.
Yeah, it's not there though, right?
No,
it's somewhere else.
There's 3 games at State Farm tomorrow, and the other one is Arizona State, Florida, which you guys will be talking about on the morning show. That's a great game too. Florida, piece of shit, Golden against Bobby Hurley is gonna be great.
I know.
I think Arizona State's live there, but Florida.
They're so live. Arizona State might be one of the most undervalued teams in college basketball right now, and I'm dead serious.
So overvalued. I understand Florida has played really well this year. I'll give them credit. They're probably one of the more underrated teams. They're a top 10 team. They probably, like, in terms of who they beat, they probably should be like a top 4 or 5 team. They are not to the point where I'm giving them. I'm like, they're laying 7 against another power conference team on a neutral site. No way. Especially a team with talent like Arizona State. No shot.
Not to mention, what has Florida done that's impressed somebody? Beating Virginia or beating Wichita State? And I'm not saying that to you. I'm just saying it to the world. Like, if you're a Florida fan or you're betting Florida, like, what have they done to impress you? Wake Forest?
Tennessee have the same type of resume. They've beaten like these lower level ACC teams. They beat Wake Forest, Virginia. They also beat the crap out of Wichita State, but they're terrible. The difference is we know Tennessee's got the talent and the coaching. Florida doesn't. Florida doesn't have any coaching advantage. Todd Golden is just there. And the only advantage they have is they're usually taller than everybody. So
depends on who you ask if he's there. Yeah, some of the women on campus, he's more than there.
He's an awful human. Can't believe he's still on the side.
Also, by the way, more Tennessee hate from Andy. Tennessee's played the 140th hardest strength of schedule. Florida 324. So,
well, I'm just saying,
a little Georgia bias in there, trying to hate on Tennessee. It's all good. I just wanted to make sure that people knew.
I think a lot of that's weighed by their win over Baylor. You think?
It is. It has to be. Yeah.
And Baylor was coming off a double overtime buzzer-beating win over St. John's.
And to be fair, Tennessee beat, I think you said this, but Tennessee beat Virginia as well. So they both beat up on Virginia.
Did you see the Virginia game the other day?
Yeah, dude, I lost the first half. It was like my only loss that day. I lost the first half bet. They covered the full game. I'm done. I'm done with Virginia.
18 points in the first half against Bethune.
Oh, I'm well aware.
What are we doing?
I laid -8. How do you cover -8 when you only score 18?
Cast your votes. It's between these 4 on the top bet.
No wonder he retired, man. There's some good. I know there's a few on the list tomorrow that you guys are going to talk about that are good. Arizona, UCLA. That one, I like Arizona a lot in that game.
That number's blown up as well. Arizona is one of those teams too that in that article that I was reading has some luck coming their way.
Yeah, they've been very unlucky so far.
Someone said Toast and Pigmen walk through museums in Alaska on the daily together. They look at paintings shaped like vaginas.
Who?
You know, it's a reference to a Netflix show. You're probably not going to get it.
What's the show?
Breaking Bad.
That's not a Netflix show. That's an FX show.
Yeah, but most people watch it on Netflix. Who the fuck watched that on Netflix? On FX?
Me. I watched it
because
I'm a true Breaking Bad fan.
As in you watched it and then waited a week?
Yeah, I watched the DVRs. Yeah, like for the first 3 or 4 seasons.
Dude, that's some psychotic shit. No one watches TV like
that's
that.
All there was back then.
Just watch
I've been on a Bateman movie kick lately.
Oh, you've been on what kick?
Bateman. Dude makes amazing movies.
Jason Bateman?
Yeah, dude. I don't think he's ever made a bad movie.
They're all pretty popcorn-y. They're not like very deep films.
Talking Office Christmas Party tonight. Great movie.
All right, so the community top bet is tennis.
He says I'm on a Jason Bateman.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Dude, ask Prop Fever. We talked about this.
They're like the simplest film. It's like Jason Bateman. I don't dislike him, but like that's the guy. You're on a Bateman kick.
If I see Bateman's in the Wikipedia, I'm turning that movie.
He sees Bateman. He's clicking purchase.
Also, really quickly, a couple other plays that I have. Memphis +7, Santa Clara -3. Bradley's one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country. That's going to fall off a cliff. Also, everybody loves St. Bonaventure. Providence at home money line. I guess that's blown up. Providence -2.5. Oklahoma State and Boise State plus the points.
Oklahoma State. Oof.
All right, so the community top bet is Tennessee -2, and I don't like it because I like the other side. But granted, I don't start looking at college basketball till January, so I like Illinois to win that one. So yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. There's a video up where I go through the Army-Navy game and the bowl game. There's a bowl game tomorrow night. There's 2 college football games on. If you guys want to go check that video out. Tomorrow we're going to be live at 11 a.m., but I don't even know what we're going to do because it's just me and Toast. So like, we might just like go
Old school.
I'll pick some NBA game. Well, there's only 2 NBA games. And we'll talk about a couple of college. We'll probably be live for about 20 minutes, like just 11 a.m. Eastern time. So yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. See you all in the morning.